I mean, come on now. I need something stronger than water after watching that. So Liverpool take the first set 6-3. Mark Donaldson alongside Luis Miguel Echegaray. Okay, I've got an issue here. When you fight fire with fire, you're up against somebody with a blowtorch and you turn up with a match. I understand that you're not going to kind of differentiate and change from your principles, but what a game. What a game in North London. 6-3, I think it finished, to Liverpool. Could have been a lot more. Where do you want to start with this? Because Liverpool were a joy to watch. Spurs defensively were not. You can pick anywhere you want. You can start with the last goal, the first goal. Where do you want to start, LME? Because that was nuts.
Well, I want to join you and see if I can find something stronger myself to see what we just watched here. To be honest with you, like for the neutral, it was my favorite game of the season. It was unbelievable. And it's for all the reasons that you talked about. I mean, let's begin with this for a second. Liverpool, in my opinion, and as we've said before, are the best team in the Premier League and the best in Europe. And yes, they conceded 3 goals, but my God, the manner in which they came today was amazing. And Tottenham, they are the great entertainers. Thank you so much, Ange Postecoglou. But once again, showing a lot of inconsistencies. But regardless, what Liverpool did today, especially in that first half, I think, and yes, we could talk about the second as well, but there was so much to discuss because Arne Slot saw what Postecoglou was going to offer. He knew exactly what was going to happen. And he, I think, delivered a tactical masterclass. I thought it was wonderful. So many ways of what we saw Liverpool today. It was magnificent. And we're going to get into Tottenham, I guess, because Postecoglou remains stubborn in the system. But how can you do this when you put Archie Gray at the back? You're about to face Mohamed Salah coming at you 24/7. It was unbelievable. It's just an amazing game, MD. I don't know where to go, but it was everything that tells you why, in my opinion, the Premier League is undefeated. It just gives you so much. We can go anywhere you want, my friend. It was just a tremendous game.
It was a brilliant game to watch for the neutral, except the first 20 minutes was rubbish because we didn't get any goals. And then the next 70 minutes, we got 9 of them. And it just became that kind of playground football where you got a goal at one end, then they'd score, and then Liverpool would score 2 more. Let's start with the opening goal. Okay, in the 23rd minute, it's a super finish by Luis Diaz, but Trent Alexander-Arnold with the delivery. When we were speaking earlier, we did Everton against Chelsea earlier today, and we spoke about Everton kind of not feeling as though they have the onus on them to attack just because they're at home. And they kind of did what they did, but they shut up shop and they made it difficult. And they didn't allow the space for Chelsea to exploit. Trent Alexander-Arnold was in his own postcode to be able to deliver that. There's still a lot of work to be done before A, the cross can be delivered perfectly, and B, the ball ends up in the back of the net.
Yeah, and Tottenham are not going to do Everton. They're always going to try and come forward, etc. But that cross from Trent Alexander-Arnold was magnificent, and we can give David Beckham comparisons, etc. But it was just a beautiful, beautiful cross. And you know, as you mentioned, there was still a lot left to be done. But it's the difference between what Liverpool can do and anybody else. The identifiable resources that Liverpool have are remarkable. And that's what makes Trent Alexander-Arnold so special, because he can do that. I mean, he can do so many other things, but he can do that. And that pinpoint cross was amazing. I think, obviously, to your point, had it been a different team, you probably would have tried to defend that a little bit different, you know, but Tottenham are so committed when it comes to defending, attacking, etc., that they always leave themselves vulnerable. But it was a great way for Liverpool to make that statement at the beginning by opening the scoreline. And that was a world-class cross from Trent Alexander-Arnold. It was the best way to really open that thing. Difficult thing to say, world-class.
I was going to say, it's not easy to say, and it could maybe get you into trouble. Yeah. So I'm glad.
Especially if English is your second language, but it's all right. We got there in the end.
I'm still working on that as my first language. You did well to extricate yourself from that. Spurs couldn't extricate themselves from a 1-goal deficit. It became a 2-goal deficit. And Liverpool now have basically middle to front. They have no failures. I mean, one goes out, someone else comes in. It doesn't weaken the side. And Alexis McAllister doesn't get too many headlines. He's a brilliant player. He's the one that puts them 2-0 up. But if it wasn't him, it's probably somebody else. And look, I get that Spurs' defense is kind of limited right now. You've got the injuries to Christian Romero, and you're playing Dragushin, you're playing Archie Gray in there as well. But again, they just flooded the box, and it was too easy for Liverpool to score the second goal. And do you know what? In a way, for Liverpool, it was kind of nice that they didn't score a worldie. It was just it was a run-of-the-mill, scrappy, right place, right time header from close range.
Well, you say that, but I think if you begin the play from that goal, Alexis McAllister starts it, and almost every Liverpool outfield player touches the ball. And yes, we can talk about the weaknesses of Tottenham in this situation, but that was a really good goal from Liverpool. And you mentioned McAllister. He's 5'9". He's got no business winning that header, and he does it. And I actually thought he was magnificent as well in this game. And we said it on Friday, MD, that here's the thing about this game today. Liverpool were coming in with a massive advantage. They had an extra day of rest from the Carabao Cup, and Virgil van Dijk, Salah didn't play. And so players were feeling refreshed. And I think that goal was an example of what we were seeing there. Everybody was touching the ball. And yeah, it was a little rusty from a Tottenham perspective, but it was well-deserved for Liverpool. And now you were looking at a Liverpool in full gear. And that's what really I love about Arne Slot. Like, look at what that lineup did today. You had Alexis McAllister and Gravenberch right there. But then, above all of that, it's like this sort of fluid, squarish look where Lucho Diaz is playing up front for parts of it. Cody Gakpo on one side, Mohamed Salah, Szoboszlai, and Tottenham couldn't cope. And that was the example of that McAllister goal. It was a really great way for, once again, for Liverpool to take ownership. And this is when Tottenham were now, thinking to themselves, well, this might not be a good game. I mean, there was a shot of Postecoglou just saying, oh, here they come.
I sent a message in the first half to a friend of mine who's a big Liverpool fan. I said, this is unfair. It looks like you've got an extra player here. And it's the way it looked, didn't it? Because they just found space. One thing that not many people will kind of talk about because you've got 9 goals and there's not much space, not much room, but we've got room to talk about it. Liverpool players' movement off the ball is outstanding. It's very rare that a Liverpool player has the ball without having an option. And that's a lot harder to do than it seems. It just seems you pass the ball, you get into space. But Liverpool do it so well, don't they?
Yeah, and I think that in many ways, Liverpool is the worst possible opponent for a Tottenham side. Yeah. Because Tottenham love to push so much that in many facets of the game, there's almost no midfield. So to your point, what happens is Liverpool easily crowds all those areas. So once you evade the first press from Tottenham, Liverpool can just find acres everywhere. And to your point, it felt like an extra man because really when they were pushing, that's exactly what you saw. And when you have somebody like Mohamed Salah, who is just, I mean, are there any words to describe this person? I know we're going to get into it because he scores more goals in the second half, but before halftime, he becomes the first player in Premier League history to reach doubles in goals and assists before Christmas Day. I mean, we're talking about a really special player that is just so good at identifying everything. It's amazing. And when you have somebody like that, it really does feel like you have 12 players out there, including the goalkeeper. And that's exactly what Liverpool did. So at this point, Arne Slot was thinking to themselves, yeah, we can keep going. We can keep going for sure, because it ended 3-1 at halftime.
Yeah, well, I haven't even touched on Mohamed Salah. Yeah, he's got an integral part to play in the goals, with the assists still to come. But Spurs pull one back, and that's the thing. Like, we can have a go at them for not being great defensively and this high line and always allowing space and always allowing opportunities for the opposition. But with that way that they play, they're always a threat. They had another look. They checked to see if it was a foul in the build-up. Virgil van Dijk was certainly not happy, but it was a good finish by Maddison. And it's one of these, if it's a foul, then it's given at the time, then so be it. But there's probably not enough to overturn it. And that gets Spurs to within 1. And at that stage, they could have been down by 4 or 5. Yeah,
I mean, there was a slight shade of optimism as Maddison made that goal, but I still didn't think it was going to happen, because I thought that was more of an anomaly and more against the run of play, because you were about to see more from Liverpool, which is exactly what you saw. By the way, and this is where Luis Diaz comes in. I thought he was wonderful as well, because he was asked to do so many things today. we know him so much from coming from the outside in, but he was playing as a 9 at points. He was playing as a 10. He was switching roles with Gakpo, and that's where things got even better for Liverpool, allowing the likes of Dominic Szoboszlai and even Mohamed Salah get into it. So, but by the time Liverpool score that third goal, then it's going back to, the things were going back into play. It was a really, really great 45 minutes of Liverpool, with James Maddison's goal being the only inch of hope for Postecoglou, and Tottenham.
It was an assist from Mohamed Salah just before the break. And when you get back to 2-1 and you're Ange Postecoglou, it's not as if he's going to change much, because there's still a goal down and he goes gung-ho pretty much from the start. But at least it gives you hope. And then just before half-time, you get the Mohamed Salah assist. And Szoboszlai's back to the form he was showing at his previous clubs on the continent, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. And it's good for him. And I think Slot's the right manager for him in this moment as well, because he now, as you said, he understands what he needs to do in the position that he does. It fits him perfectly, because especially in a game like today, where okay, we don't have a natural 9 to begin with, but you now have the freedom to utilize what you can do both centrally and out wide. And when you play off the likes of Diaz and Salah on either side, then it fits you perfectly. I mean, we can't forget that Szoboszlai came to Liverpool at a time when he was considered one of the best players in Europe at that time. And it took him a little bit of time to adjust to what was going on. Obviously, the departure of Jurgen Klopp was significant in that moment. But now he works in a team that has focus, control, and panache. And that's exactly his game. So, fair credit to what he's been doing.
9 minutes into the second half, and it's 4-1. And at this stage, you're like, right, how many is it going to be? And it took me back to a pre-game interview that Ange Postecoglou did with Sky, and he kind of smirked. He's like, I don't think this is going to be 0-0, mate. And it wasn't. And that was a concession of a fourth goal. Now, at this stage, you're thinking back to Thursday night when Spurs beat Man United 4-3, and it's just jumpers for goalposts. But this is a special goal from a special player, isn't it? Is he unstoppable at times, Mohamed Salah?
Yeah, I think when he leaves the Premier League, whenever that may be, to me, he'll go down as in the top 5 players the Premier League has ever seen, maybe even 3. I think he's that special. It's unbelievable what he does. He is unstoppable because he does the work of a striker out wide, and he does the work of a winger as if he was a striker, because he's so selfless. But he also, as we're seeing from the stats this season, the amount of creativity that this man creates. He leads both in goals and assists once again, and he's doing it right now before Christmas Day, and he could have had some more today. I mean, I know that we could talk about it on another segment here, but the fact that there's only a week and a half to go and he's free to talk to any club from New Year's Day is kind of unbelievable to me. He is an absolute machine, and the Premier League, not just Liverpool, should be very happy to have somebody like him in this campaign. He was remarkable, and he was remarkable today once again.
Well, he got another goal within 10 minutes of scoring his first goal. And a little bit scrappy. Look, apologies at this stage if I'm getting goals mixed up, because there were so many that came.
Nobody's going to blame you, man. There's so many there.
He's just Johnny on the spot, and he's in the right place. And it kind of took me back, LME, to Arne Slot's first ever game in charge. We had it live on ESPN. It was Liverpool against Betis in Pittsburgh. And I remember interviewing Arne Slot before the game and kind of said, "What?" At that stage, it was kind of after the Lord's Mayor show, wasn't it? It was the Davy Moyes taking over from Alex Ferguson. It was the Jurgen Klopp's gone. It's still his team. Arne Slot's coming in. I said, what are we going to see different from you? He said, you'll find out. But Mohamed Salah, we're not going to play him in the same position that we've been playing him in. We're going to give him a little bit more freedom. We're kind of going to play him a little bit wider, but he's welcome to come inside, just so you don't know if the left back or the left centre back is going to have to meet him. And whatever role he's playing in, because he's not a striker, he's not a right winger. He kind of has this area where he can't be stopped. And look, defending better would help. But what would you say is his best position? What would you say is the position that he's made his own this season that's slightly different from where he played under Jurgen Klopp?
Ooh, good question. But I think it falls within the answer that Arne Slot gave you right there that summer, which is, I think that naturally speaking, he's at his best when he's on the right wing coming inside. But if he has the freedom to be more central, then, you're going to see so much greatness for him, which is exactly what you're saying. So I think his best role is coming from outside in, but it only works, right? And if one, he has that freedom to do so, which is what he did, but that's because he has the likes of Gravenberch and Alexis McAllister providing a lot of support behind him. But I think that he best comes in as a winger penetrating inside because he's so good at identifying danger when he doesn't have the ball. And that's what you saw today. I mean, I really mean it. He is so special, and we will consider him as one of the greatest. But again, here's the thing, because he's been great with Jurgen Klopp. You know, he's been great for so many seasons under him. But what Arne Slot has been able to do is he's more focused. I don't mean any disrespect from what he's done in the past, but this season he seems to know what he wants to do in a much better way. And I think it's because Liverpool's game, not today, but Liverpool's game has slowed down a little bit. There's a little bit more focus and control when they have the ball. So that allows Mohamed Salah to really think about exactly where he wants to go and how he wants to run. I mean, there was only a few matches ago when Trent Alexander-Arnold just looks at Salah's run. So Salah penetrates and scores as well or sets up. And I think that's what's made him a little bit better. So the more the merrier, I think, from Liverpool's standpoint, as a strong unit, are allowing Mohamed Salah to shine in any way possible.
Look, we've got a top team behind the scenes, Sam and Chloe, and they've spent a bit of time putting together some Mohamed Salah stats. So rather than just leave them in the ether so that no one ever reads them, well, I'm gonna read them to you. Here we go. He scored or assisted in 9 straight Premier League games. That's the longest active streak in the Premier League, and Salah's longest since he got 12. That was April 23 to September this year. 9 goals in his last 8 games in all competitions. He also has 5 assists during that span. He scored 2 goals in 3 straight Road Premier League games, and the first player to score 2 or more goals in 3 straight on the road in the Premier League since Harry Kane for Tottenham in September 2017.
Since Harry Kane, MD. Since Harry Kane. Harry Kane's a number 9. Like, that's insane.
I've got more, but that's all Sam could do. I mean, we've got to prep for this. We've got to get 9 goals, and it's 5-1. And you're thinking, right, it's 6, it's 7, it's 8. Well, this could be anything. Is Ange Postecoglou going to have a job in the morning if they get absolutely done today? But then we go back to what I was saying about Maddison and scoring and how, yeah, they are open at the back, but they always seem to remain a goal threat. And goal 2 came. Then goal 3 came. What are you thinking at this point when the scoreline becomes 5-3?
I think that Alisson is probably the player that had the worst game in the Liverpool side, because he every shot that went against him, he let in. It's not saying that it's fully against him, but with Tottenham, that's what you're always going to guarantee, right? 23 goals scored at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium so far this season, something like that. So whenever they concede, you know that they're going to give you something. And you got to give credit to Postecoglou for that. There's a stubbornness to his passion, and it's mirrored by his team. But the issue here is, and also I think once Liverpool were a little bit ahead with 15 minutes to go, they took their foot off the pedal slightly. And not realizing that Tottenham still really just wanted to go, if at the very least for pride. And that's what you're going to get from Postecoglou. I didn't think they were going to fully come back, because Liverpool were still pushing themselves as well. And they were still trying to get a few goals as well. So it wasn't a thing where I thought, okay, they're going to bring it all the way back. But it does tell me that Tottenham always is going to have this fire. It's just like you cannot always be that stubborn, especially when you have the likes of, I don't mean to like pinpoint him every time, but somebody like Echegaray, you're facing Mohamed Salah every time. They've got injuries, Cuti Romero, Mickey van de Ven. That is clear. We have to remember that. But the erratic nature of Tottenham is always going to allow the other team to do something. And this Jekyll and Hyde personality at some point is going to give away. So what is it that you want? Do you want to entertain, or do you want to be consistent and get a top 4 spot? That's something that Postecoglou has to wonder about as we move into 2025.
Hopefully he's still got a job as he keeps wondering, because any more results like this, and look, granted, it's against the best team in the league. And if he's not going to change when he faces one team, he ain't going to change when he's facing Liverpool. And they scored 3. The problem is they conceded a 6th goal late on. Luis Diaz with the goal, Mohamed Salah at the assist. And for those people that captained Mohamed Salah in your fantasy Premier League team, you've got your abacus out. You're like, okay, that gets that, and that's a double, and then maybe get 3 bonus points from that as well. But what it did, it probably put a much fairer reflection on the scoreline and the way the game was. Because if that had ended 5-3, Liverpool winning by a couple, in a game that ultimately they dominated, at least there was a wee bit more gloss there, because it was at least a 3-goal win. The way the game was for Liverpool. And they got that late on to make it 6-3, didn't they?
Yeah, and I want to go back to Tottenham for a second, because you can't beat Southampton 5-0, and then you play Manchester United, you're 3-0 up, and you nearly blow that up, and then you come here against Liverpool, and you know what Liverpool are going to bring. You know it. Mm-hmm. And you still allow them to score that many goals. Full credit for you to come back. There's no doubt about it. But again, I reiterate, and to your point, like, he's going to lose his job if he continues to remain stubborn. I was joking with our producer Sam before we started taping. Postecoglou would be perfect in CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers. If he like I will take him for Peru any day, because you just know, like, there's a short window, 2 matches in the space of a few days. Let's just go all out. Like, and I would buy that any time. He would be wonderful in South America. But this is the Premier League. This is a bunch of matches. And we're in the month where you're playing games like every 3 days. You can't be that stubborn all the time. Now, what is it that you want? You want to win a trophy, or you're getting closer to the Carabao Cup? But look at your Premier League standings, and more matches are coming. I don't see Champions League for them this season. I don't even see 11th. Europa. No,
yeah, they're 11th right
or
now.
Europa League at all, or anything. But I maybe a trophy. But what is it that you want, Tottenham? And that's why I said to you a few weeks ago that I think Daniel Levy has a list right now, and it's not a Santa Claus list. I think he's thinking, look, this can't continue. We need more consistency.
I was thinking back, because you mentioned Mickey van de Ven is along with Romero's out, but Van de Ven allowed you to play that high line because he's the quickest defender, one of the quickest players in the Premier League, and you would back him to kind of match and outrun most players. But if you're still kind of playing that high line when you don't have the pace, and Dragusin as a defender, he's a solid defender, but you'd fancy your chances in a sprint against them. But look, that's something that he's got to work out, Ange Postecoglou, for today. This is about Liverpool. This is a potential banana skin that could have been pretty slippy for them. But they've like, you know what? The way we were playing, no, nothing worries us. They were fresh after not playing in midweek. Spurs had that 7-goal thriller against Manchester United. And they've opened up, what now, a 4-point lead at the top of the table with a game in hand. What stops them from winning the title? Is it injuries? Because it's not ability, because they've got that and they're the best team in the league right now. Yeah,
Liverpool's biggest enemy is themselves. That's it. This is the title for them to lose. That's what I think, and that's what will keep going. And I think injuries is the key. If, God forbid, they lose a player to injury for a long time, a key player, then things become interesting. But the difference this season, MD, is that they have a manager that is more about control and focus as opposed to heavy metal. And I think when you have that, now you have a squad that understands even when the rough gets going, you can at least have a strategy. So even injuries, I still have belief here. I mean, obviously a lot and key injuries is going to play a part, but even with that, they are their biggest enemies moving forward. This is a team that's won every game in the Champions League. We said, let's see what they do against City and Real Madrid in the space of a week. Well, they did that with flying colors. Let's see what they do in December. Well, they're doing just fine. And so now we have to wait and see what they can do in the second half of the season. But in my opinion, this is the Premier League title for them to lose, and the only team that can stop them is Liverpool themselves.
Just to wrap it up, because I didn't really want to go through each goal individually, because I thought we might be on for half an hour, and we pretty much have been. So apologies for that, and thank you if you're still staying with us. I've said with you, with Janusz, with Shaka, with Stevie, and with all the gang on FC that we've been doing that ESPN FC Live on Wednesdays and Fridays at noon Eastern, that as well as Liverpool being really, really good, they've been helped a little bit by teams around them dropping points. And they were today, by Chelsea dropping points against Everton. And I think now it's all about Liverpool. And they've got no control over what Chelsea do at Everton. But they just have to take care of themselves. That's what Arne Slot said in his pre-game press conference ahead of this one. He says, it doesn't matter what happens elsewhere if we take care of our own job. So, yeah, it might be great for them that teams like Chelsea and Manchester City and others, Arsenal, are dropping points at home and on the road as well. But ultimately, they could be winning most of their games, but they still wouldn't be above Liverpool in the table right now. And it's Liverpool's title to lose. And it'll be quite the Christmas for them. Happy Christmas to everybody. We'll be back on Thursday to look at the Boxing Day games. But we'll leave you. On Christmas Day this year, it'll be Liverpool with a 4-point lead at the top of the Premier League. Bye for now.